This essay example, as well as thousands of others, is available in text format on our website for free and without registration. Simply Google Ivy Panda Free Essays.
Abstract. The ability of a single individual to influence the decision-making structure of many has been in play for centuries past. The name given to this influence by various scholars and psychologists is peer or group pressure. The term refers to the situation whereby the voice of an individual affects the decisions made by others within a given group. In the 1950s, a famous psychologist, Solomon Asch, conducted an experiment geared towards determining the extent to which pressure from a dominant individual affected the decisions made by other participants. In this critical analysis of the experiment, we shall focus on the various assumptions that surrounded the experiment. Through the use of relevant literature, a detailed evaluation of the experiment shall be provided to validate or dismiss the conclusions reached through Asch's conformity experiment. Introduction. The study of individual conformity as a result of peer pressure has been in existence for many centuries but has only gained prominence in recent times. This can mostly to the experiment carried out in the 1950s by the famous psychologist Solomon Asch. This experiment aimed to gather valuable data about the reasons behind any act and behavior that was portrayed as a result of peer pressure. The psychologist managed to do this by conducting interviews and studying a group of test subjects. The participants included 7 Confederate and 1 study subject. They were seated around a table such that they could not be suspicious. The participants were asked a series of simple questions and were expected to answer them aloud. These simple questions would help the psychologist ascertain how group pressure influenced the answers provided by the subjects. Findings. The results of the experiment were very interesting. They showed that the answers given could to a significant percentage be influenced by peer pressure. The participants that were not subjected to peer pressure gave the correct answers to all but one question. On the other hand, the participants surrounded by the people giving wrong answers invariably gave more wrong answers. Brain claims that at least 75% of the participants gave the wrong answer to at least one question. Inasmuch as this would have been ruled out as an experimental error, it was enough to declare that peer pressure indeed can lead to conformity among groups. In summary, the experiment proved that one voice can undoubtedly influence other people into conformity. Criticisms of the Asch experiment. Despite the progress made, there were criticisms directed toward the experiment. The first criticism was based on the age of the participants, which reflected their level of experience in life-related matters. As regards the experiment, the participants were all male subjects. In addition to this, they were all considerably young. Critics under this argument state that older participants would have provided better findings since they are more mature and have experienced different life situations. These, accompanied by the fact that older people have more mental strength, meant that they could have held to their convictions regarding what they believed were the true answers to the questions provided. In addition to this, the participants were undergraduates and therefore more intelligent than the target population. This may have affected the results. According to recent studies, women have been seen to be more conformist than their male counterparts. In addition to this, the experiment was conducted on American subjects. However, there is documented proof that individuals from collectivistic cultures, Africans, are more likely to conform than their counterparts from individualistic cultures, Americans. These factors show that the results of the experiment were not conclusive as they overlooked other variables as mentioned above. According to Hill, the Asch conformity experiment had no ecological underpinnings. This simply means that the experiment and the findings could not apply in most real-life situations. This is because the environment under which the experiment was conducted was controlled and there was no room for influence from other factors such as emotions, morals, and personal perception. Further on, the experiment was disregarded by the findings of concurrent experiments which showed that the level of conformity was minimal if the participants wrote down their answers. The findings revealed that the satisfaction of being anonymous reduced the fear of being judged, thereby making peer pressure invalid. Wren articulates that the experiments were done in the 50s. As such, experiments conducted in recent times cannot yield the same results. The author attributes his opinion to the fact that conformity was more prevalent in the 50s. During this period, McCarthyism was widespread and the educational system followed a strict chain of command. This is so different from today's society where people exercise their rights and are less ignorant. However, the proponents of the Asch experiment argue that unlike Sharif's experiment conducted in 1935 was indefinite and can therefore be termed as the true test of conformity. In addition, they claim that the patterns utilized during the experiments have been used in other experiments and the experiment can therefore be termed as the ultimate guideline for doing further studies on conformity. Conclusion. Group pressure has been seen as the most prevalent cause of social problems because it leads to groupthink. This simply means that individuals feel obligated to agree to a dominant decision within a group. This leads to a situation whereby other opinions are suppressed and alternative solutions are not fully analyzed. The Asch experiment tried to determine the extent to which this is true. However, flaws and benefits have been documented regarding the validity of his experiment in the research and studies of conformity. If the flaws are addressed and the benefits utilized, the experiment will remain to be the foundation of other studies not only at present times, but also in future studies. If you want to find more works like this research paper on a criticism of the Asch conformity experiment, head over to ivypanda.com. It has a collection of samples with thousands of submissions covering virtually all academic subjects.